think everybody knows me. I'm the co-founder and chief strategy officer of Valor Pro. Obviously, my clients know me, but this is more so for you guys. I took a really big liking in Quinn. Me and Quinn got to know each other probably about a year and a half ago now. Yeah. And then learning his story and understanding kind of what he's done in the space with Stay Duvet and now currently what he's doing with Feather PMS. I just thought it'd be valuable for you guys to be able to learn from him and then obviously ask questions that you need to. But Quinn, it's over to you.
Awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate everybody's time today. We're very excited to learn a little bit about you guys, but primarily tell a little bit about our story. I'm Quinn Foster. I'm calling in from Charleston, South Carolina. I was the former CRO at Stay Duvet. And then my business partner, Taylor, the CEO of Stay Duvet, is also kind enough to give us some time this evening in order to really tell the entire story and, the platform that we created and the success that we were able to reap off of that. I think a lot of good content will come from this discussion, but we are also wanting to make sure that this is a little bit more of an engagement. So yes, we will be presenting. Yes, we will be telling a story, but if anybody has any questions or wants to interject, this is an open format, so please feel comfortable to do just that. Taylor, you want to introduce yourself, and then let's maybe just kind of take a second to introduce everybody, and then we can kind of jump into it, or the vice versa.
Yeah, let's start with everybody else first.
Okay.
And kick off.
Anybody feeling brave enough to introduce themselves first?
Lukey, start it off.
What's up, guys? Camera's back on. Hey, Luke Cole here from Wilmington, North Carolina. Own Cole Combs. We have a team of 7 and run about 55 units right now, and looking to scale to about 100.
Awesome. Good to see you again, Luke.
Yeah.
Harrison, would you like to introduce yourself? I'm just going to go down the list because I know them, and it's going to be awkward. Otherwise, I'll just call people out.
You that guy.
Harrison, can you hear us, or should we skip? All right, Justin, you're the man of the moment.
Okay. Kind of know the Stay Duvet guys a little bit, but I guess for the other people on the call, I guess I actually know a handful of these people. But I'm Justin. I'm up in Maine, so we have a full service vacation rental management up in the Acadia National Park area of Maine. We manage about 80 units, and we are trying to figure out how to keep scaling this thing and not go crazy. So,
well said,
Alan.
So I'm Alan Martin. I live in Sneeds Ferry, North Carolina, and own Paragon Vacations. We have 49 homes under management where, like Justin said, we're just trying to grow and scale and find the most efficient way to do that. So, we're firing on all cylinders. That's what we're trying to do.
Nice. Awesome.
Vic, I know you're dealing with a plumbing issue, but if you want to say hello, you can.
Yes, unfortunately I am. How's everyone doing? Vic Partha, based out of Chicagoland, currently have 16 properties, and we are actively scaling up.
Cool.
Nice to meet you, Vic.
Scott Braska.
Yep. Based in Long Island. We're just under 25 properties now, looking to scale to 75 to 100. It's a mix of co-hosting and managed right now.
Cool.
Hey, sorry for missing y'all earlier. My name is Harrison Wood. I was struggling between kitchen and cooking and cell phone and computer. So I'm Harrison Wood. I represent a company called Best Texas Travel in Central Texas. We're in New Braunfels. And we manage through Central Texas and then a satellite property in Colorado, about 150 units. And we are looking to streamline our operation and just kind of simplify because we grew in really weird directions. So we're trying to scale back and just make sure we get organized and efficient.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Harrison.
Mary George of Red Tail Ridge Rentals.
Sorry, I didn't know we were going to be talking. I thought I was just going to get to sit in the back
You
of
fly on the
back
wall.
of the house. Okay, so well, we're in Oregon, and like you said, Red Tail Ridge Rentals, and we have been doing it for 10 years, 5 aggressively. We own all of our own properties. We don't do any arbitrage, or we don't have to please any host except ourselves.
That is the smartest way to do it.
And
You're on
sometimes
fire.
that's hard.
I hear you loud and
Yeah.
clear on that. Good to see you,
But
Mary.
we grew faster than we were ready for.
Awesome. And how many units you said?
We have 13 homes, which expand into 26 units, 27 now.
Cool. Very cool.
Congratulations.
I think lastly on the call, we have Jamal Lawson.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
How's everybody doing? I am located in the Dayton, Cincinnati area. 15 units currently between co-hosting and arbitrage, and been doing it since 2021, taking it seriously.
Cool.
Awesome. Nice to meet you, Jamal.
You as well.
I think we have Aiden and then probably Taylor. You should round us out.
Yep. Yeah. So Taylor Gates, a founder and CEO of Stay Duvet. Really happy to be on this call today. I kind of actually wanted to. Are we done with intros? Can I kind of go into it?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So I kind of wanted to say this because I think it's important for us to hear this kind of stuff. Like, first off, this is a hard business. Like, it is so freaking hard. There's a reason people need property managers or co-hosts, because it's not easy. And owners want to act like they know everything. Well, if they did, then why would they be hiring or looking at you guys, right? So that's just something I think like really good to say. You're not alone in feeling alone, crazy at times. Like, this is property management mixed with hospitality, which is like a crazy combo. And the fact they're even here listening, to me speak right now shows how much you guys care as an operator in the industry, and that's so cool. It's really cool to see our industry grow and get more people that really care about that. And it's really empowers me to want to keep, trying to help. Our goal today is for you to walk away with at least one thing that you can, truly positively impact your business. That's, at least one thing. That's a win for us today, hopefully more. And then after, having a wonderful exit, we want to help other operators in any way we can, where we frankly spent millions of dollars to try to figure everything out. Like when we were scaling, we had to rearrange the business constantly. And we just want to be able to share that knowledge with everybody, because we really did try to find a perfect blend. We were managing urban and leisure. So we do have a good understanding of both. We do need good operators out there. And, I'm helping with one operator now that, the Columbia, South Carolina almost got shut down entirely. And we helped him out with some ordinance stuff. He went and met the mayor, and now Columbia is continuing to have short-term rentals. So it's amazing how the little things together, we can actually make a big impact and keep this industry in the right way. And we truly believe that we are the best option for accommodations for families with kids, pets, special needs, and so much more. And it's pretty cool that we all have the privilege to do what we do, hosting, core memories for people in this world, where they might have one vacation a year, never know. So I just wanted to say, thank you for spending your evening today with us. It really means a lot. And, for Quinn, you want to do your intro, or are you good?
Yeah. Quinn, again, just kind of for the last stragglers that kind of wandered in. I'm Quinn. I'm one of Taylor's business partners. I was a former CRO, Chief Revenue Officer at Stay Duvet. In our prime, we were boasting, anywhere from 350 to 400 units. In the last year and a half or so, Taylor and I were lucky enough to go through a pretty epic exit with our business. And having been serving Charleston for over 10 years with Stay Duvet, along that journey, we ended up building a platform that enabled us to really tap into what we called like our rocket ship. And, now that we have exited, we want to stay in the industry and keep on inspiring and, empowering hosts just like everybody on this call to have all the tools and resources to be as successful as possible. So I hope everybody, like Taylor mentioned, walks away with at least something. And if there's any way that we can stay connected with you guys after this evening, we want to encourage people to, reach out, pose questions, get some time on our calendar. We're here to help.
So the story, kind of we figure we go into the story. We've got kind of, kind of three key things that help with the M&A, which is good to know if you ever get into that down the road. There's a lot of stuff we wish we knew as we got into it. But for us, Stay Duvet, we started in 2015 in Charleston, South Carolina. Our mission was to bring the hotel experience to the home. And we saw that the industry, especially at this time, was seriously lacking in quality control standards. We were called Stay Duvet because we didn't know whether if the duvet was clean in the hotel. So we thought it'd be really funny to call it Stay Duvet. We have a clean duvet guarantee. So we really cared about, making sure all the bedding's all white and we can properly bleach it, degrease it, take care of it, because we find that a lot of people in the hotel industry weren't coming to homes because of that one reason. It's because they didn't know if the beds were clean and comfortable. So that's kind of why we called it that. It rhymed, of course. It was cool. We were, our vision was, we're just running homes. We were crafting, standout guest experiences. So we wanted to, create guest guides for people, support local business, make it more of a memory for them. We did in-house concierge services. We, again, try to deliver that hotel level hospitality. And through that, we were able to scale to 350 homes, bringing on between 40 to 80 homes per year naturally, just organically, absolutely zero marketing. And we were able to achieve a 3.2 mil EBITDA at about an 18% margin, which at one point was 24%, which I'll kind of get into later, and kind of some good key tips on that. But just the fact that we did it word of mouth, it shows that your homeowners, your guests are effectively will market for you and tell you how great you are, especially when you're on multiple OTAs, people can see you. With the reputation results and the retention that we were able to keep with our homeowners, that was huge too. We saw an industry retention of about 2 years. Ours ended up about 5.5, which was really great. So we were happy to see that with the high retention, we were able to, keep that for long-term success, not just every 2 years being like, oh, we just lost an owner, got to bring on another, and all that kind of mentality. We managed homes in downtown Charleston, North Charleston, Mount Pleasant, Isle of Palms, Folly Beach, Kiowa Island, and Seabrook Island. So basically, we call it the Sea Islands over here in South Carolina. And we built out a full in-house op. So, we started with just a few people, a small boat, as we'd say. And we ended up, growing that professional laundry facility, housekeeping, managing about 20 managers in-house, up to about 80 housekeepers, and about 6 VAs, which we use for night calls and handoffs to the team the next day. And those scalable SOPs, we had to keep changing them. So we kind of figured out a scalable one now that you could take from 25 homes to 350 is what we've found. But at the time, especially for us, we tried multiple PMS platforms. We were using 3 or 4 at the time. We tried Kigo, Guesty, Logix, multiple different ones. And for us, it just kind of felt more like a shovel with really no really good best practice behind them. And so for us at the time, we just built out our own PMS because we wanted to achieve our goals. And our goals were elevating the guest experience, homeowner transparency and retention, giving them really insight to everything we were doing, and then operational excellence through tasks for our team. Our team would wake up every day what do we do? And we'd be like, well, this is what's urgent. This is what's important. Just log in. It'll tell you exactly what to do. And then if we just do that, then we're all rowing at the same time. We're going to be the best boat in the water. So that's what led us to build Feather in the first place, was that we just needed something that was an all-in-one system that we could scale with, and that it could help our team be efficient and give homeowner transparency again. So, and with the exit, we did land in the top 1% of vacation rental operators nationwide. So very, very blessed for that. And I think, Quinn, I wanted to kind of pass it off to you as kind of key takeaways for the M&A before I kind of go into the whole peer system.
Yeah, absolutely. So 3 major high-level points that our partner, who we ended up moving forward with the acquisition, right here on the presentation, if everybody can see it, was inevitably their baseline, hey, this is why we're moving forward with you guys. Accounting, I'm sure for everybody is always a conversation piece because it's almost impossible to keep track of all the income coming in and the expenses going out, and making sense of it, because in our industry, money is constantly coming in. It's constantly moving. It's coming in and it's going out, and what fashion, or what OTA it's actually being realized from. Different payout rules, different approaches to handling your tax accounting or anything of sorts. So one of the major things that they really put us on a pedestal for was making, was at the end of the day, our dialed in accounting. And so just I guess, how many people, and you can feel free to drop something in the chat or shout it out loud, but how many people are leveraging any kind of platform to elevate their expense tracking, accounting, and reporting? Does anybody have any specific examples or anything that they've adopted and are falling in love with, or are they still using their back of the napkin math, shared spreadsheets, and homemade solutions? Has anyone ever heard of Top Key? It is it's an awesome tool that you can automate a lot of your expense tracking, tie all of your corporate cards to it, and inevitably it can reduce hours, if not days, worth of expense tracking when it comes to consolidating all of your bank statements to the expenses that you incurred as a manager on behalf of some of your homeowners. But I would definitely say that accounting was the biggest thing that they really made sure was as tight as it possibly could be, and really help elevate the valuation of our business. The next was hospitality. So I've just been lucky enough that Taylor has really kind of led the charge on Duvet's behalf to just, I'm sorry, it's my fault, I'll fix it. I didn't really come from a hospitality background. So of course, and I'm sure Vic could probably sympathize with this. Sometimes when you're plunging that toilet or dealing with internet issues or, trying to prove to a homeowner that you're the person that is, inevitably justifying the investment that they've made into whatever asset it is that you're managing on their behalf, you have to lead with the hospitality. You always have to kind of put either the guest or the homeowner, or maybe even your neighbors, ahead of the rest of your needs or wants. So at the end of the day, we're all working in a service-based industry. So you always kind of have to lead with the fact that the whole reason that you have a business and the whole reason that you're here is because you're helping create values for others. And they always need to be as top of a priority as they possibly can be. Everything else generally works itself out after, you put those folks first. And then reputation. I mean, at the beginning of the call, I think Taylor stressed that, our company very quickly scaled to over 350 plus units with effectively zero sales and marketing efforts. The only sales that was really happening was by way of Taylor or anybody that we had some sort of close or tight-knit relationship with, understood that whenever you worked with Duvet, you made more money and the home was always taken care of. So whenever you are covering all aspects of, the vacation rental business, yielding a high return on investment, making sure that the home is in as good of a shape as it possibly can be, and that the homeowners are in a happy place, your reputation inevitably is your marketing vehicle. So always kind of, leading with that and knowing that the results can certainly be driven by just doing a good job. There's a lot to be said about that. And I think reputation doesn't get enough clout whenever people are talking about all the tools, resources, platforms, and investments that you can put your time and effort behind to bring on new homeowners or to get to more inventory or whatever your goal might be. But at the end of the day, if your reputation is that you make the most money, leaving the most homeowners as happy as possible, that should be a great sales driver for you guys to get some more inventory.
Yeah, we had this like totem of excellence. It was really great for the team to always remember. It was neighbors come first because they didn't sign up for this, right? And they're in the community, and then guests, and then homeowners, and then us last. And that always really helped the team think about prioritization. And by really doing that and really being a part of the community and finding ways to do it in small ways for little businesses, all that, even as a co-host, you can reach out to a restaurant and be like, hey, I'm sending business your way. You throw the person an appetizer. That little thing, those little details bring more reputation, more clout to your business. And they're like, oh, I'm so glad this small business supports my small business. So all of that really helps. And, I don't know if y'all are dealing with this in your markets, but We did create the ordinance here in Charleston. We've been a part of 3 ordinances and kind of helping with a 4th, and everybody else kind of ran away from them. We would fight it and explain why it's really good what we do for our local economy and people in general. So, just kind of know, like, by the way, like, that's an opportunity for a good reputation too. Like, local municipality sees that, like, you're standing up and you're speaking. A lot of people, a lot of owners will be like, oh, cool. I want that person to manage my property, so things like that.
Without a doubt.
But yeah, these were key for our M&A. Like, when we went through that whole process, it was like we're off by a penny in the accounting. Like, our software had it off by 1 penny. They literally said out of all the acquisitions they had done, they did like 20 before us, that we were the easiest and the best. And people pay more for that when you're more dialed in, because they know also there's gonna be less churn, right? So because a lot of time acquisitions occur, there was always the worry of that. We had really almost no churn. So it really did. It was a really great recipe, win-win for everybody. But this is something that kind of put a lot of time in today. I want to talk about, because I think the success story is cool and all that, but I think that it's like anything. It's like the kitchen's great, but how did the chef really make it happen, or how did the team really make it happen? What is like the secret sauce? And people love acronyms, so we kind of came up with one, and for us, we call this working with our peers. So the idea here is this is a way for you to wake up every day and be like, what am I working on? You're like, what do I do today? I've been working all week on this. I feel like I need to like shift some energy to other parts of the business. This was like, had we had this from day one, it would have just been a game changer for us. So working with your peers, I'll kind of go into details for each one, but kind of tell you what it's for. So product, which is going to be your homes, your listings, your homeowners, all that kind of stuff. Experience, which is going to be obviously the guests. Empowerment, which is going to be your team and your homeowners a bit, but definitely mainly your team. Reputation, which is going to be like marketing and how your brand is perceived. And then if you do all that well, you can scale your business, right? So getting right into it. So with products, what you want to do here is you want to say, what are we offering, and is it truly great? This whole heads and beds idea has destroyed our industry. It's hurting it, actually, because people are just kind of throwing lockboxes on there. They're not really properly addressing issues. And that's why we are losing homes in certain areas due to ordinances because of that. So, for us, we always felt it's important to really look at the product that we're offering people that are paying, right? It's just like any business, right? So we made sure, for example, seating and dining match sleeping capacity. That's an important thing to your products. Nothing worse than having 10 people staying in your house and they can only have 4 people have dinner together. It's Thanksgiving, or 4 people can watch a movie or the game together. Those little details. We found king beds became a standard in our business. We found that 23% of bookings would increase by just having a king bed. If your property had a queen bed and fools or whatever, first off, get rid of fools unless you have to have a fool. It's better just to have like a bunk or even 2 twins, really. But like what we found is that people are looking for king beds, and that was a big deal for us to get more bookings, believe it or not. They photograph better, sleep better, sell better. In-suite bathrooms were a priority, of course. We leverage those as more luxurious, and then we'd tell owners like, hey, if you're doing a 4-bed 2-bath, we kind of would probably rather you try to do a 3-bed 3-bath. We had homes that were a 4-bed 2-bath make less than a 3-bed 3-bath in our market, because as we started to dial in the product, got more competitive, more higher end product, met more people willing to pay higher ADR. We're looking for the best, like getting the best stuff further out. So we found that to be very true for our market. And again, we were in 7 areas, so it's pretty consistent. We prioritize pet-friendly options and parking because that's what guests actually search for. They're looking for that. People, owners that want to charge $20 a night for parking, that's just you're thinking short. You need like that should just be included if you have it. That's a benefit. And pet-friendly. I mean, gosh, 30% of people looking for pet-friendly, right? Like that alone will improve the product, get more visibility. And that is the benefit why people pick homes over hotels, as we know. And a huge part of our success came from maximizing existing homes. So like, this is something I want you to really think about, because I'm seeing it with a lot of private equity groups. I'm seeing a lot of people in our space right now. Everyone's thinking more homes, more homes. Well, if Quinn and I were to do this all over again, we can make just as much money managing 250 homes than 350. Our margin would be better. Our team's headspace would be better. Everything would be a little bit better. And if you can make just as much money, of course, you take that all day, right? And what we found was that the owners only know what they know. And they're hiring you to tell them like, hey, how competitive am I in the market compared to this guy down the street, all that, right? But also owners need to invest in their property because they need scheduling, income. They have scheduling incomes, they need write-offs, right? So at the end of the day, every year, especially as you get towards probably October, November, is when we would take the opportunity to tell our homeowners, hey, I literally need, I was wondering if you'd like to improve your property. I think I can make you like $10,000 more a year if you do this or that. And then what this would do is it would show the owner that you're thinking about them and their property rather than just running it on autopilot, and it would make more stickiness with them. It's a great retention thing, because if you do get them to invest in that and you say, hey, I'll pay for the photography or whatever, you're commission based probably, right? So you're gonna make more money. They're gonna be really, really proud, like that they have you because you looked out for them. You went out of your way to try to make them more revenue, right? Most people don't ever do that. A lot of people just kind of cut the corners and do the bare minimum. Those are the little things owners look for, and that made massive changes to our retention. And that adds that kind of long-term valuable. It makes it a little bit more indispensable. If some other manager comes in and goes, I can make you more money, they're going to be like, yeah, but this guy or lady already made me more money and has done it without me having to ask them. It's just more wholesome. So product is really about just like really thinking about the homeowner, thinking about also like the agreement you have with them, like making sure you're getting like if there's an issue at the property and they're telling you you have to get approval for over $300, but hey, the AC's out and you got to fix it and you're gonna have to send them a refund for the night. That's a no-brainer. That's an emergency maintenance. So in your agreement, make sure that you have full autonomy to be able to make those calls, so you're not then all of a sudden refunding and then paying for the replacement. That's something we found that really helped us. And by refining the products, you're gonna have better house, better reviews, better margin, better ROI. So that's product, the idea of that. Really going to product. Like if you spend too much time in one area, you need to spend some time in product as well. Experience, what does the guest feel, right? Before, during, and after the stay. So I think we all can make, this is where a lot of us, I think, can feel a little guilty of, is where we forget what it's like to be the guest. Like we're always kind of being the host and we're just trying to keep the houses maintained. And it's hard to do those extra touches. But, the guest journey starts before they even book. We would be proactive with our team to reach out to people and have a little more human connection. Like even if you have a VA, like you can have them do that. But like the idea is that's what's going to make you memorable. As AI continues to come into our world and not destroy, but to sort of eat away at authentic hospitality, it's going to become more noticeable and people are going to remember you more. They're going to be like, oh man, this is a little different. I mean, Four Seasons is even doing this anymore, so it's just a way to differentiate and kind of be a little different. It only takes like 3 minutes out of your day. And if you've got only 20 check-ins for the week, that's not much time for you to spend like 2 hours doing that to make people feel great. And if you do that, if a bug walks across the room and they arrive to it, they're going to be cool about it. Not like, I want money back, because they have a relationship with you, right? Yeah, Quinn?
Yeah. And I mean, just to kind of elaborate on that, specifically is, AI coming into this space, it's the buzzword in any industry, but it's extremely applicable within the vacation rental space. Answering inquiries or, managing your task management, auto-populating some reports that get sent off to your homeowner. So there's a lot of automation that is coming into this space. And I just kind of want to emphasize what Taylor said is make sure that you're paying attention to how you're automating whatever it is that you're automating. And let's make sure that the AI is getting more, it's getting applied to more of the very regular, daily, mundane tasks that take a lot of your time, but are extremely repetitive and are almost kind of like templated problems that you probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, or however many solutions that you have to that same problem, that AI can kind of make sense of it and deploy whatever fix that might be. But the idea is that then opens you up for a lot more of that interaction and communication and that very hospitality forward or hospitality centric approach to the guests. So lean into the AI, but really understand what it is most applicable to, and don't just use that in order to sit back and collect, set it and forget it. Like, use that time to then go better and elevate the guest experience, but also your homeowner experience so that they know exactly why they chose to work with you.
Yeah, totally. Like we would always tell the team, like it's all about the senses, you know, like if a guest, like they're unfamiliar with the space, they're coming into a new space, maybe a new city, a new town, and that can be a little bit like intimidating or scary for some people. And, we built like a guest experience checklist for turnovers because we're like, housekeepers, you get in at 11, they're done cleaning at 2, and my team's got 2 hours to inspect the property and get like, you need to focus on what they're touching, seeing, smelling, and hearing, the senses, right? So if just as long as those things are taken care of, then you're going to be good. You're going to be able to get through a crazy on season and a high turnover. So really looking at like all your checklists and stuff, really like putting those at the top. Those are going to be the things that are going to help you get by with less complaints and less bad reviews and any issues that might arise. And we would always tell the team, like, treat every stay like it's someone's last vacation with a loved one, because that's really what we're in the business of, is creating these core memories. And what a cool job we have. But if you do that, that will instill like that hospitality you thought into the experience itself. Because if you treat everybody like they're a product, then it's kind of, or like an automated message even, like you're just like whatever and move on to the next guest. You're going to slowly eat away at what makes you special. And it's going to, and 2 years later, it's going to go by and be like, and then a competitor's going to come in and do that. And you aren't, and you're going to get kind of cannibalized, because that was the one thing that like will become the differentiator, is remember the guest is the one paying. The homeowner is getting, you're getting commission of the opportunity they're bringing you. But remember, the homeowner is the partner, not the customer. The guest is the customer. So that's like the piece that, really like reframe when you're thinking about how you do things. And then, bed comfort, like a third of the guest stays in the bed, right? Going back to that, like I cannot say more than ever, someone has a great guest sleep, then they're going to be cool if an issue arises. We found that was every owner, we'd be like hybrid bed, 100% cotton, all white, all of our properties. And we would get people saying all the time, bed's comfortable, amazing sleep. And it just never was an issue for us, and allowed us to actually properly take care of those sheets, degrease them, bleach them. So again, if you do have, just so you know, if you have a flower duvet, it hurts your listing. I just want you to know that. Like, if it's not white, it hurts your listing. I don't care about what design you have or whatever. For most people, that's seen as not clean because they know you didn't bleach it, they didn't take care of it. Those are a higher tier. They want to see kind of that standard. And that's why if you look at every single hotel, they all have all white sheets. So that's just kind of an important thing to think about if you want those types of guests. We did combine the human touch with automation. So it was personalized messages based on guest spend and trip type. If you're spending $8,000, we would have a problem where we were sending the same experience for someone spending $15,000 compared to someone spending $1,000, which is just, that doesn't make sense. That's, we need to give a consistent experience, but we need to give a heightened level of experience to someone spending $15,000 and not just automate that, right? So those are things I want you to like challenge yourself to. At the very top, like and Feather for us, we would have in the reservations tab, we could see what is the highest spend, and we would prioritize those guests to be called first, right? We would give them the attention up above others. And then another cool feature we built in Feather when we did it was, so we built this thing called personas. So inside of our inbox, like at the bottom, people have like canned responses and a lot of PMSs. We built something called persona where, we ask guests, why are you coming to Charleston? It would say, girls trip, family trip, whatever it is. And by basically asking them, we then would on the bottom have these pre-created templates, itineraries, planning their entire trip for them. And we would just change them once every 6 months or once every year. And this, by the way, is a game changer for reviews. And we were noticing 1 out of every 10 reviews would be written before we did this. And then when we added the itineraries, and guests were getting this this custom itinerary sent to them 24 hours after we filled in the persona, they felt like we were going out of our way to enhance their experience and think about them. And that made them feel very special, especially when the person planning the trip for everybody else. So that brought our reviews, they're perfect. That brought our reviews from, instead of 1 out of every 10 to 1 out of every 3 people. So when you get reviews written like that, at that rate, you'll get guest favorite on Airbnb, your placement will go higher, you'll make more money, period. It was a game changer for us. Like, it's something I wish we did a long time ago. So really investing, especially in the world of AI, I'm getting at, is you really want to make sure you're really putting more human touch. And that's honestly where I'm not all AI guy. I actually think like the mix is like AI VA, especially as you're up to scale, because you do need personal touch. So that's something I would really dial in. Do not go heavy AI. You will regret it later, I promise you. And then the other thing too is like, reviews. A lot of times people will be like, when do I send a review reminder? We have found the most successful recipe is 4 hours after checkout. They're usually still traveling. It might be like going on a flight or whatever, but they're still on their vacation high. So they're happy, right? Second people go to bed, they hit the reset button, dopamine resets. They don't really remember everything as well. Now they're back to work. It's not a good time to ask for reviews. You always want to ask not earlier than 4 hours after checkout, because it's a little too soon, but 4 hours to 6 hours after checkout, we have found to be the perfect time to ask for a guest review. And in that, we always say, like, safe travels home. Hope, everything's great. Also, love if you have any private feedback for me, because I don't get to stay in these homes. And then we would get that private feedback, make sure it comes to us, so on public review. And then what I want you to do too is I want you to look at your OTA listings, making sure you're getting reviews there, because that will ensure your placement on them is higher. But your properties that have really good success and that have a lot of OTA reviews, you should toggle to an automation to get yourself Google reviews if you're a host that has like a location that you want. Like, homeowners will look at that, is kind of my point. So that's a good thing to kind of look where your reviews are going. With Feather, we built a review module so we could see this. So we could be like, oh, this one's getting tons of reviews all the time. Let's click on half of these guests to get Google reviews. And then we were able to kind of spill those in, which was helpful. And then also, if guests did leave a positive review, you can offer them like a 5% return guest count. I'm sure y'all have maybe some direct booking stuff, and it's cheaper book direct anyways. So there's a lot for you to give there already. And in our system, we would track it by phone and email. So if they came back, we would know, like, oh yeah, that guest stayed with us. And then we also our automations were short. We made the biggest mistake at one point, like having these huge messages on the OTAs. Like, we would be like, check-in instructions, all that. It's really better if you kind of break it out into different messages over time. And really, once they're in-house, move to text message. And if you have to on Airbnb, obviously keep it in the platform. We understand that for their terms of service. But when it comes down to kind of before and all the rules and stuff, try to have a clickable link. Because once they're booked, they can click the URL. So have like a tiny URL basically in there. That was a game changer. People were not reading our house rules and stuff until we did that. So this is all experience stuff that even one thing here could help you. That's great. Next thing is empowerment. So some of you are at a certain point where you're taking all the multiple hats you're wearing. You're having to be like, who am I going to give a hat to? In this case, we'd always use the analogy of rowing on a boat. So we coached our team to go from rowers, so they were just executing, to coxswains, which are the people on the front of the boat, telling how the rowers to row. And through that, our goal wasn't to micromanage; it was to teach like decision making in the gray area. So kind of a good example of that is we found that by creating SOPs and saying, when this happens, you do this, it actually created problems, because there might be a differentiator like, when this happens, oh wait, this person's in a wheelchair, that doesn't apply to this issue. So for example, like, you need to empower your team to be able to make decisions on their own, where as long as the homeowner's gonna be happy and the bottom line of the business doesn't have to be negatively affected, let them make the decision. Empower these people to be really good at the gray. That was something where we kept being like, no, you got to do it like this, you got to do it like that. And we found ourselves managing and being a coxswain with rowers that weren't rowing at the same time, because they were all trying to row at the same time, but they didn't feel empowered to do so. And in rowing, what's really cool is, like, if anyone's ever been rowing before, but when you have everybody rowing at the same time, like all the people on the boat literally lifts itself out of the water and glides over the water almost. That's how it feels. So it's this really amazing experience. And when you have that, that's when you know you're managing your team well. It just sort of, everything's flowing. And then all of a sudden it's about the boat, not about the rowers or the coxswain, it's about the boat. And then your team is going to be empowered to wake up every day and keep, hosting people. We would also track, like in Feather, our task management is one of the strongest suits we have, and our reporting and all that. And so we track like who would create tasks and who would complete those tasks. I mean, I can't tell you how many times it'd be like, oh my gosh, this person's just creating tasks. They haven't completed any tasks. Like, that's not right. We need to be like educating them, teaching them. That's an important KPI for you to look at, to understand like who on your team is actually doing what and how effective they are. That is a good KPI to look at. Who needs more training? That is a good KPI to give more like good jobs to. Person completing tasks, you need to give them a little extra love, because they've been doing a lot of problem solving out on the field. And then also we did stuff like give our team ownership of issues in the sense of like $100 fixable authority, so they can do anything within $100. And then we even did stuff where, we would have 70% of our issues were stuff we could just handle, like plunging the toilet, or augering one, we would have all these small things that most people hire a third party to go do, where if your team member could do it, we would give a cut of that amount, and then the owner would save a lot of money than hiring a third party service late at night. And so this was a great incentive program. We actually built it inside Feather, where we were able to every quarter download that report, and also like a Superhost status report, and then give them bonuses based off hitting Superhost and also creating tasks and all that. And that was a huge game changer to our team being good in the gray area and being empowered. And then another really cool one we would do is, so, late night, someone needs 2 batteries for a remote control. You're like, I gotta send someone over to do that. Just use DoorDash or Uber Eats. It costs like just a couple bucks to have it delivered, small stuff like that, especially for some co-hosts out there. Like that's really powerful. You can have a lot of stuff from like local Lowe's, CVS, things like that. Most of those items can actually just be done via Uber Eats and DoorDash, and saves a lot of money and manpower. And then, it's getting there with like a tracked thing. You can tell the guests. We found that to be pretty effective. And then, it's, so that's empowering, right? Like empowerment. So once you've got a good product, and then you've got good experience to back the product, then you move into empowering that team to do it how you would do it, right? And so when you guys are in that scalability, I know like Justin, you're like a big spot right now doing a lot of that. It's like those little things that you do with them every day to be that much better at handling your product and your experience. Then you have time to go to reputation, because then all of a sudden you can be like, yeah, we do have a great stay. We have a consistent experience. And then this is when people will book with you direct more and all that. When we did reputation, got some good tips here too, because it's really good for getting new homeowners. I know everyone's got kind of different models, like the co-hosting and some epics, some local stuff too. I think like for us, what we would do is we would reach out to restaurants and be like, hey, we have groups, and our groups have higher check averages, and we would love to send a couple of people to you every once in a while. Do you have someone we can call? And they'd be like, yeah, I'm down to try this out. And they would give the guests an appetizer. Say, hey, this is an appetizer by Stay Duvet. That one thing you just did right there made you a brand to be remembered, right? That one little thing, because you got them at a restaurant, and then all of a sudden they got like the little special piece. They're not getting that in most experiences in their life anymore. So it's just those little things. And now the local business is like, I like these guys. They're bringing business to me. It's a great thing. And like that's how you help build that reputation, because that guy and all those people working at the restaurant, they might know somebody that has a property. And we've gotten lots of properties from people just talking about us because we've just been a part of the community. Another thing we would do is like realtors, people that are doing obviously buy or sell. We would spend a lot of time really explaining like, hey, if this person's trying to buy, here's some upsides they could do. Hey, this is all queen beds. There's no queen beds. Like that's 20% more views. Like that's an upside. Add a pool in the backyard. It's not pet friendly. There's little product things. You can bring the product tips and tricks into your reputation piece for your realtors to be able to pitch you and your services. And then also, through those realtors, they also have the ability to like they're going to be getting like off-market deals and all that. They can make your homeowners get those deals for others, and that creates that extra retention rate as well. So we found working with those realtors is a great way to get out there, and then educating homeowners and those realtors on the ordinance itself. If you have an ordinance in your area, having just like a slideshow you can send to them can help them a lot on making the decision for buying a piece of property. Hey, Quinn?
Yeah, and just to kind of emphasize the realtor relationship. So I'm sure most people have had some sort of conversation or interaction with real estate agents in order to help close a deal, maybe on behalf of a client, whether they're a new client or an existing client. Really putting a lot of emphasis on that and leaning into the fact that not only are you creating value for your client and hopefully winning some new business or a new property for your portfolio, but like at the end of the day, you're probably going to be the point of contact and creating even more value for the real estate agent. You're doing a lot of the heavy lifting. You're really bringing to you're bringing to the table inevitably market data. You're bringing information about how your rental program inevitably works, and then maybe how it compares to some of the competition into the rest of the space or in your market. But like really acknowledging the fact that the value is not only to your client, but also to the real estate agent. And if you do a lot of that heavy lifting for the real estate agent, you know, I'd be very surprised to hear if you guys weren't going to be that first call the next time a short-term rental lands in that real estate agent's lap. So, you know, when I was the revenue officer at Duvet, Taylor would always do his networking. He'd get that phone call from the real estate agent that a property was going to be going up for sale sometime soon. And we would be the first people to put together a pro forma. So I don't know how you guys leverage any kind of like third-party tools or resources, or where you really rely upon your own inventory to develop your pro formas, but really think about and dial in your pro forma generating process, because the faster you can move on those pro formas and the data, and the faster you can get that data into the real estate agent's hand, you're gonna be that first point of contact whenever that agent has a interested buyer.
Totally. Yeah. People are like, just because you got to me in like an hour after talking to you, like I'm this owner's going to go with you and I'm going to send you all the business. Gonna have to wait 3 days and lose the deal. It was a game changer. And then really just has to scale, kind of wrap it up here on the peer system is, you know, if you just do these things right, you'll scale. And, you know, for us, it was just the margin thing is important. I think I talked about, I kind of brought up earlier, we moved into a market, North Charleston, where we just were like, well, let's just bring on more properties. Let's just bring on more properties. Our margin dropped from 24, I think, to 17% as we were bringing on a lot of those properties because they didn't make the right revenue. It's almost like we need to charge even a much higher commission. So something to really look at too and ask your owners when they're coming on is, are you going to use the property often? Should be a higher commission. You know, like you want to make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself into and what the amount of resources and time you're putting into each property is, so you can understand what that margin is, because that will become really, really valuable to you to like when you come to a point where you would get acquired down the road, but also just for yourself to make like smart decisions on hiring somebody else or expanding into a new market. Just make sure that the market you move into, you can keep that margin similar and not start squeezing it out where you're like, dang, I wish I didn't even take these on. You know, that was something we learned the hard way. But yeah, so like, you know, for us, when it came to exit, it was just clean books, documented systems, deep homeowner relationships, crucial. Don't forget that. And a brand that, you know, just acquires trusted. And, you know, when we, I guess like don't raise the scale, but build something worth scaling, if that makes sense. So, you know, everyone will follow it.
Love that. Build something worth scaling. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. We can run maybe a couple minutes after, but we want to make sure we save some time for questions and answers if anybody has any. But to kind of round things out, you know, always at the end of the day where Taylor's, you know, professing, you know, build something that's worth scaling. Also make sure that you're holding yourself accountable and providing value to your homeowner in the most transparent way possible. So I'm not quite sure what everybody on this call uses for task management. But you know, we kind of had a saying at Duvet: if it's not a task and it's not in the system, it didn't happen. I'm sure we all work off of some sort of revenue share or commission-based payment plan for your services that you provide to a homeowner on a monthly basis. But you know, we at Duvet, it didn't matter if it was a $0 task or if it was a $5,000 HVAC replacement cost. Always create a task, always have some sort of platform or vehicle by way of which that you can always designate where your time has been spent to justify the commissions that homeowner is paying you each and every month. So again, even if you're just run into the house in order to, you know, fix that clogged toilet that maybe only took you 10 or 15 minutes, document that, create a task or put it in wherever you guys hold all that information, and just always have that paper trail. So inevitably, you know, we all end up having some difficult conversations with homeowners, whether it's related to taking care of the house or generating revenue for them. So it's never bad to have that arsenal in your back pocket if you do have to have an ugly conversation about how they're considering moving to other management. They don't know, they're only as good as the information that they know. So always have that ammo in your back pocket to be able to say, hey, listen, you know, now that we're having this conversation, let's have a clear understanding of exactly what I've been doing on your behalf each and every month to justify the revenue that you receive on a monthly basis.
$0 expenses are awesome. You're right. Because like the owners don't know what you're doing, and having all those $0, they're like, oh, you did all this for me too. So it's a good point.
Exactly. Justify your worth and let them know exactly why you're working with them. You're not going to nickel and dime them. I'm sure everybody's management contract or service agreement reads a little bit differently about what's covered and what's not, what's billable and what might not be. But still, the $0 tasks need to be accounted for because I'm sure it will become a conversation point at some time. And then kind of like fast tracking the rest of this is, if there's a way in which that you can affiliate your or tie together your expenses and your task management, there's a tremendous amount of value on just being able to complete a task and having it trickle down to all of your reports in, a very seamless workflow, jumping back and forth between platforms and juggling who did what, when did they complete it, what payout period is it applicable to. Finding some sort of platform or vehicle in order to make that as streamlined as possible to empower your team to input their own expenses and have your bookkeeper or whoever closes, your expense accounting at the end of the month, just making that clear as day and as streamlined as a process as possible. There's just it's a lot of time saving that you can do once you really tap into that. And then the reporting and the tracking that comes with it, streamlining your payouts, making sure that homeowners get to stay as liquid as possible, as frequent as possible is always something that they'll have a lot of greatly appreciate and put a lot of value on. Lastly, on the revenue side, so again, just really making sure that you're holding yourself accountable and setting goals for yourself and setting goals for your homeowners. And those goals are easily trackable and able to revisit at any given point in time. In our platform at Feather, we are, really kind of leading the charge with a revenue management module that allows you to leverage two different ways in which that you can pace yourself against that particular property. You can either choose to do it year over year, or you can choose to option B would be to actually take the time to set goals for your property. On the former, year over year, in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily tell the entire story. You very well could have a property that is well positioned and should justify $125,000 a year, but maybe there were some missed opportunities on the management and the reservation side, or the homeowner had an excessive amount of use or owner blocks on the calendar, or there was a lot of deferred maintenance that took away some rentable nights. But having a very clear and concise way to understand where exactly you stand versus year over year and the time that you take to goal set your properties will make conversations relative to revenue with homeowners a heck of a lot easier and more data driven, and really kind of removing that emotion either on your side because of how hard you've been working. Maybe I would assume that nobody on this call is like a set it and forget it manager. I'm sure that everybody spends a lot of time or invests a lot of money into their revenue management for their business. So you always want to make sure that that's kind of taken into consideration and appreciated on behalf of your homeowners. But sometimes the performance doesn't necessarily tell that story. So being able to have a very clear and concise way to really drive that story is extremely powerful in the sense of homeowner retention and relation. But also, best business practices, it's also kind of forces you to start to really elevate your forecasting capabilities for your business. So you can really start holding yourself accountable to any kind of like growth benchmarks or, accelerated issues that you might, accelerated ways to elevate your business, especially from any kind of growing pains that you guys might be experiencing. So really dialing in the revenue, holding yourself accountable, and making it transparent to the homeowner is the main takeaway there. That brings us to the end of the presentation. So, we want to obviously give everybody just a couple of minutes to pose a couple of questions. We do have our information here on the slide, but we will certainly make sure that it's readily available to everybody post-presentation so that we can maybe forward everybody a copy of this recording and you can revisit at a later time or share it with the rest of your team. But if there's any questions at the forefront of your mind or that you wanted to pose now, feel free to do that. If not, then we understand that everybody has a life outside of their property management business and it's almost 7:30. So we want to make sure that we're observant of that.
Real quick question. I'm sure it's a combination of everything you just said, but normally a company of that size has been selling for anywhere from 4 to 6x. Were you guys approached for the 12x? Did you pitch yourself at 12x? How on earth did you double the national average of getting acquired at such a high multiple?
Yeah, we're like technically legally not allowed to say what our deal is, but yeah, a lot of it came down to I think for them was just like a lot of these deals they put in churn. They expected like a 10 to 20% churn, so they already kind of play that out, and that kind of lowers that. So for us, they just knew based off what we had built that we were, they were going to have really much at all. And actually, since then they've grown. Our company has continued to grow. So it's just it shows like, which feels good for us too, because we're like handing out to somebody who continue to take it further. But yeah, that's what justifies it. And I think also the time too, like we're obviously in a great market. Charleston's a good market, but it comes down to the thoughtfulness of your business. Like, we of course made sure that they kept all of our employees, those incentive programs, all those things mattered. And they could tell that we were a good business owner, really took care of everything before ourselves. And with that, they knew there'd be more fortitude there.
And then also to kind of harp on the revenue management and the forecasting, by way of our PMS, it was very clear and transparent. The past growth that we had experienced, the growth that we were experiencing during the year of the acquisition, and then what was very much expected over the next 12 to 24 months. So there was really no guesswork as to what our growth rate could potentially be. All of that was clear as day by way of Feather and the revenue management module and the reports that it can trickle down to, in order for them to really understand and feel confident with the way that we were positioning ourselves for the acquisition, that those goals were not unrealistic. They could certainly be achieved.
Yeah.
And then last question, I'm sure I'll let someone else answer, but real quick, for each market, was there a minimum amount of homes you needed to see in each market for it to make sense? Like, is it 10 listings before you obviously start develop teams or something like that? Did they want to see them all in one area? I know you said you were kind of spread out, but is there a minimum unit count per market?
Yeah, I mean, we were luckily like somewhat like our furthest location. There's like 55-minute drive around there from one spot, so like it was like crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times when you're looking at, like, you're leveraging the housekeeper almost as your inspector, and I think that's a big piece of also make sure there's motivation for them, not just like getting a cleaning fee, right? You almost like give them more for the inspection, and here's like the process that you want them to follow. It depends, like, if you have, the answer could be somewhere between 10 to 20 properties, depending on how much they're bringing in those properties, and then how often they're rented. For us, we would just kind of look at our margin, understand kind of what that was bringing in, what the kind of attention it required. We knew that for the first 10 properties, we're kind of like eating into it, but then we would grow much more, and the margin would recorrect itself. But for us, like, we weren't going to like offer a worse experience, even though we were making less margin, because we knew that we would stop it would stop the tap from getting more properties, right? So it's just, that's how we kind of looked at it. For us in Charleston, we had most of our properties were downtown pretty close, which was great. So that gave us that core spot. And then we started branching out into the other markets. And we started in an urban core, and we moved into leisure. And there is a nice thing too, like if you're co-hosting multiple locations, you probably know already, it's kind of nice when you have one season be opposite than the other, because they kind of balance each other out, and you're getting the income. You're not having these like big black and big red months. So that was another reason why we did it too, because they kind of help with the labor.
And then the empowerment, going back to the peer system and the empowerment. I mean, at the end of the day, a new market was definitely some uncharted territory for us, but like really looking to our team, and, we were fortunate enough to have, anywhere from 15 to 22, 25 different home care managers, letting everybody know that we had hopes and aspirations of tapping into a new market. We have one or two opportunities that are presenting themselves, but we want to make sure that we're doing it responsibly. Going to the team and saying, who's ready to be that market manager? Who wants to step up, whether or not it's compensation, with cash or bonus opportunities or a different type of incentive program, but really looking to your team that honestly, it needs to be a team decision if you're moving into that new market. Making that decision at the top, sure, that's one way of doing it, but like making it a team decision and empowering the one individual who's ready to step up and own that market and make it their own. Again, it just kind of creates that well-rounded approach towards, really good decision making.
It's good too, because like, you through the journey, you have like the pre-booking, post, or stay, post-booking. It's like our home care managers were the second day of reservation. They were responsible for that the property being right and maintained properly, and the guest experience to be good. The inspection, like they're responsible for the actual experience. Where our reservations team would handle, obviously because they're more computer based, they would handle the inquiries, and then we had someone else set revenues for them. But one big issue we had was like someone be like, hey, someone with a month-long booking for $15,000 in November, can I take it? And we'd have you always want to answer something immediately so they get it converted. And we'd be like, well, we'll get back to you. So what was another reason why Quinn, because he was the CRO, built the revenue dashboard, he's like, Amelia, just go to Thursday and then see what we're trying to get for Thursday. And then that's what you can offer. So it was really cool to create this like transparency for like revenue manager and reservations. And then reservations then moved into answering inbox for concierge. But then we had our VAs, which were huge for like helping for after hours. So like, people were sleeping. And we always had someone on call kind of around. But the VAs got so good because we empowered them so well to be able to get things deployed unless there's an emergency. They had an emergency number to call us. And then they would do a handoff where they gave a list of items. So the next morning, the team would wake up with all the things that happened from like 6 p.m. to like, 4 a.m. or 6 a.m., whatever. Or any of those issues that occurred were handed off into our task management module. So the person just woke up and knew exactly what's prioritized, which was cool.
Awesome. I think April asked a question in the chat, but that's awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. I am dropping a response to you, April. At the end of the day, our industry is service-based. It's a professional service that we're providing. So the big KPI you want to pay attention to is going to be your EBITDA. That's your earnings before your interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And that's kind of going back to Taylor's first point that he made, is focusing on the inventory that you currently do have and making sure it's making as much money as possible. That really holds true for, not only making sure that you're streamlining your own operations and not onboarding more inventory to create more headache. Sometimes you do need to slow down to speed up and get the most out of the current inventory that you have. So, obviously more properties, more revenue, higher EBITDA, maybe hopefully a more successful exit. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're picking and choosing the inventory, April. That's going to make your business's bottom line in the best position it possibly can be. And then once you really dial in what that ICP, or that ideal client profile of the ideal homeowner and home, is where then you can then start having a bit of a template to start going and marketing yourselves to the homes that are going to be the easiest to manage and make you the most money and position your business for the most successful exit.
Yeah. The one thing that April too is like the time that we had taken away from some of our like difficult owners that weren't producing nearly like what other ones were. That is a very important thing to be aware of. And the fact you are is awesome, because you're like, someone pull your hair out. You're like, oh, these people just aren't worth it. At some point, it is hard to maybe say let go. But what we would do is for every like X amount of properties we bring on, we'd sit with the team every quarter and go, which one you guys want to get rid of? And that would empower the team as well. And we do that with housekeepers too. Because we have so many housekeepers, like, which one are you having to repeat yourself? They're not picking up on what we're telling them, and they're just like, whatever. Like it gives them the ability to kind of make that decision. And then that's going to make the team kind of want to keep pushing forward to deliver this excellence. You know what I mean? Because you're letting them be a part of that process. And it's also like, it's like if one rower is not rowing right with the rest of the rowers, it's your job as the coxswain to train that rower. And if you can't, you got to kick them off the boat, because it's about the boat, right? So that's what we would always do.
Yeah, we just have some owners that just aren't worth the time, the headache, everything about them. They want to micromanage, and we're just like done. I just don't.
And you know what? I'm sure everybody on this call can relate to that without a doubt. And one thing that Taylor and I would always do at the end of the year was, we all realize we all have a little bit of dead weight. We have some clients that, what is it? 10% of your clients take 90% of your time, or some sort of fashion of that. So there's no harm in picking out who that dead weight might be and shedding them, so you can spend more time on the ones that are actually worth your effort. So I don't want to discourage you from going through the exercise of, who am I shedding this year? But just make sure you're holding yourself accountable. If I'm going to get rid of, 2 properties that are bringing in a total of, $150,000, $200,000 a year, and I can't handle that type of person or that type of client anymore, work that much harder to go replace that revenue or bring on one property that's going to produce and swap out that loss that you just positioned yourself for, and replacing it with, the client that's actually worth your time. But I do think it's important to always analyze your portfolio. understand the homeowners that are, yielding you the highest rate of return and are the easiest to work with. And then really kind of, again, creating some sort of template so you can go find more of those needles in the haystack.
Yeah, what we do, like at least a 15% margin. Like what we do a lot of work, and they act like it's. I mean, we have a lot of great homeowners, but there's those few that act like what you do isn't. So it's like let them try, and then they'll appreciate you more. Come back, and maybe we've had a couple owners like that too, where we're like, hey, why don't you do it? And then we're here, we turn your listings back on down the road, and they come back, and then they just shut up. They just completely like gone quiet, and they're like, I trust you, So that can work as well. It could be good to have that for sure.
And then later, and then Vic, Taylor, if you want to also help me answer this last question, basically, how much time are we spending with the VAs in order to make sure that they're doing, just as good of a job as anybody else in the core office? I'm not sure if there was necessarily an exact set of time, or a pre-programmed like, hey, by this date you should be good to go. In a perfect world, there always is something to look forward to like that, but depending upon in what capacity that VA was going to be hired and what job that they were going to be facilitating at Duvet, it was a matter of, how much time do we need to spend with them? So maybe kind of reframing the approach of, exactly how much time it is, really understanding the caliber of the VA that you're going to be onboarding. And I know that Danny has a whole bunch of really solid talent to bring to the table. So I think that everybody's in a really good position to make sure that they're getting quality workers. But really, I think it's a little bit more on a case-by-case scenario as to how much time needs to be led with training. But the one thing that you can continue to dial in is the way in which that you're training. And if you focus, I think if you stay more focused on the way in which that you're training, finding your all-star reservation specialist to teach somebody who might be handling front desk responsibilities, finding that your top dog in operations to make sure that they know exactly what's a good task, what's a bad task, etiquette, making comments and creating paper trails and encouraging collaboration, finding that individual in the office who's and empowering that person to be the person who leads the way with that training. So you don't necessarily sure, you're probably at the top of your business, but really focusing on empowering the folks who are the best representative of whatever department you're doing that hiring for, and leaning into them facilitating that training on your behalf, and then setting a goal for yourself to meet with that new employee and the person who trained them and see exactly how productive it was.
Yeah, we had to treat our VAs like part of the team. They had to be part of the reservations meetings. They're part of the team, And I think the other reason why I prefer VAs over AI is you can give them the why to do things. Like, what is the purpose of doing what you're trying to do? It makes it human. It makes them come up with be able to play in that gray. Because of the problem, let's act like AI was handling it, right? It would just be like, this is what Victor wants to, or Vic wants me to do. So this is the answer. But it's not properly assessing all elements. It's assessing what Vic wants it to do, right? But in that moment, the person who needs to make that decision is the person handling the conversation and feeling the room and understand, because it's hospitality, right? It's a people business. So I think that and the clear tools and playbook and all that's important for them to go off and having access to your PMS, all of that for sure. But really empowering them to be good at the why, I think is what matters. Because when we start bringing our VAs in to be a part of the team, holy difference. We would treat them almost like they're sort of like aliens, and we'd be like, you're in outer space, over here doing this kind of thing, and we never see you. But they need to actually be we told them we want you here in the office as much as you can. So we want to see you on the screen. We want to be a part of the team. We want everyone to be hey, how you doing today? Be conversational with one another. So I think it's really important for them to feel as if they're with your team or right beside you. And as much as you can do that, they actually will be more empowered to kind of celebrate those wins along the way. That makes sense.
Yeah, I have a quick question on. So at 14 or 15 listings of my size, what do you guys recommend? I know the number one thing you said is accounting. So at that, when you guys were at that size, if you can recall, what were you just doing? Simple QuickBooks? Or what do you recommend as far as systems to make sure we get the accurate net income? Because I'm co-hosting and I'm doing arbitrage.
Definitely. And I think, my first question would be how do you recognize revenue? Are you recognize it on check-in, check-out, or are you recognizing it nightly? So really drilling into how your company is recognizing that revenue and executing your payouts is question number 1. 2, what's the platforms that you're leveraging in order to do your accounting, reporting, and expense tracking? Is it all done in the PMS? Is it still back of the napkin math or a shared spreadsheet? Or so is it in a central place, or is it kind of in a whole different, is it in different platforms or in different vehicles for staying on top of it? Drilling into how you're doing that would be my second step. And then the last step is inevitably leaning into and adopting some sort of central platform that can help organize, because understanding that you have your business expenses that basically keeps the lights on and keeps whatever your business is, operating 24/7, 365. But then you also have another side of your business, which is the expense tracking that are generally the expenses that you might be incurring on behalf of a homeowner, whether it's a plumbing fix or a service call, replacing an HVAC. Maybe you are kind enough to front some money to your homeowners to buy the new couch or TV that they've kind of been neglecting to doing, but it's going to provide value add to the homeowner. Making sure that you're accounting for that, and maybe even charging a little bit of a premium because you're coming out of pocket to elevate their rental property and make more money for the both of you. So I think there'd be a little bit more discovery that I'd want to do to make sure that I can make proper commentary. And Jamal, I'd be happy to get some time on your calendar later this week or early next week, so I can learn a little bit more about you, your business, everything in between, and then I can make some more productive commentary for you. I'd love to do that.
Yeah,
Sure, sounds good.
yeah. We want to get all that time back for you, because you need to put that towards like the stuff that matters, which is again kind of the peer system. That's where, as a leader, that's where you need to focus all your time. Anything taking away from that, like accounting, like in this day and age, we should have all that be able to come into one spot. And then all the expenses, like for us, I would do the payouts for 320 homeowners every 2 weeks, and we would pay out, I think, close to like $1.8 million every 2 weeks or something like that, right?
Yeah, anywhere from $1 million to $3 million a month.
Yeah, and so I would do that whole entire payment in 5 minutes, and it was always right to the penny. So like that right there. Before, I would spend hours and hours, and I hated it when that day came. So like getting that time back, put a lot more time for me to go focus on reputation and guest experience at the time when we needed that. So that's something we'd love to dig in with you and kind of see if we can help you. Any other questions here?
I've got really good notes on who wants what, but the general consensus is, I think, and just kind of reviewing, let me know if I missed anything, everyone's going to get a copy of the recording and the notes. Luke definitely wants all of that, and then a copy of the slide deck. April, I'm going to send you some information on, EBITDA and valuation relative to our acquisition at Duvet. Jamal, I'm going to reach out and try to have a productive conversation to learn a little bit more about you, your business, and then some savvy accounting tactics to make that process as streamlined and easy as possible for you.
Perfect. Quinn, Taylor, thank you so much for your time, guys. I know it's late. Thank you so much for your time, for spending some time with us this evening. But these guys are absolutely fantastic. I'm glad that you, I know for a fact I had some text messages already that you guys enjoyed it. Yes, Mary, I will make sure that you get the recording and the notes.
Yeah, thank you everybody for your time. It means a lot. And we're here, we just want to help everybody in the industry, holistically. So please always reach out to us for anything else too. Anything.
Happy hosting.
Happy hosting.
Get back to work.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Vic, I'll connect. Oh, he's gone.